6:30, we'll start on ordinances, 564 and 566. So, because we need to call the roll for that, right, Ms. Burke?
Council President Suzanne Souter.
Here.
Councilperson Joseph Day.
Here.
Councilperson Nerman Zubaka.
Here.
Councilperson Andrew Zelt.
Here.
Councilperson Brian Madaway.
Here.
Also present, City Administrator Antonina Tantillo, City Treasurer James Wisman, City Finance Coordinator Courtney Taylor, City Building Official Jeff Bergstrom, and City Solicitor Max Hoffman.
Thank you. So if anyone has any comments on these two ordinances,
I call you Max.
go ahead and sign in, and as usual, you have 3 minutes.
You know that waiting or is that you have one comment?
Oh, no, wait a minute.
That was the last one. That's official opening, really.
We're gonna have a little tournament.
one that this is, I mean, it's fine.
I see that a couple of new people have come in. This is the public hearing on ordinances, 564 and 566. So, any of the new people who have just come in wish to comment on that? Pardon me, you can come to the podium.
So for that one. Oh, right, you're right. Yeah.
564 or 566? Okay, and in a few minutes, we'll adjourn the public hearing and start the regular meeting.
I don't get a state, now I have to log in to the state. I'm not such a girl. Oh, I state. You did that, no? It's the same, we're always in good. Then when you, oh, mine is automatic. It just comes
Here
on.
in the pub.
I don't know.
I got here at 6 o'clock.
I said, I'm not. But
Oh, remember that next time.
You can always, I mean, I hope it's bad,
Just tell me.
I'll just tell you, or I.
probably.
Last call for public comments as part of the public hearing on ordinances 564 and 566.
So when it's technically the design.
Is there a motion to adjourn the public hearing?
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the public hearing is adjourned. And I'll call to order the regular meeting of the Newcastle City Council. We'll rise as usual to begin with the pledge.
For the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call please, Ms. Weir.
Council President Suzanne Sauer.
Here.
Councilperson Joseph Day.
Here.
Councilperson Nerman Zubaka.
Here.
Councilperson Andrew Zelt.
Here.
Councilperson Brian Madaway. Also present, Mayor Valerie Leary, City Administrator Antonina Tantillo, City Treasurer James Wisman, City Finance Coordinator Courtney Taylor, Chief of Police Richard McCabe, Building Official Jeffrey Bergstrom, City Solicitor Michael Hoffman.
Thank you. We'll begin. We have two sets of minutes tonight. The minutes of the May 12th regular meeting and the June 1st special meeting. Are there any comments or corrections on the May 12th minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And are there any comments or corrections to the June 1st minutes? Hearing none, again, is there a motion to approve these minutes?
So moved.
A second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. The minutes are approved. And in a new sequence to our agenda, we will next have public comments. So if anyone wishes to make comments on anything on tonight's agenda or a general issue concerning the city, step to the podium, sign in. You have 3 minutes. There'll be a timer right here. All right, I've not seen anyone. So next is Mr. Wissman with the treasurer's report.
Thank you very much. I don't. All right. This is as of May 31st, which is 92% of the year that finished. And the revenues that we have and the assets, we have $5,356,000 in unrestricted funds. We have $6,696,000 in the restricted funds, for a total of $12,053,721, which I think is very healthy. In dealing with the revenues, we have collected $8,246,000, which is 109% of our budget. Budget for revenues was $7,598,000. So we're right now ahead of the game by $648,000 through the end of May, which is very healthy. Over on the other side, the expenditure side, we have expended $5,985,000 out of our $7,598,000. So we've used 78% of our budgeted expenditures in one form or another. All of these expenses are kept very well, I think. And I'm not going into a lot of detail, but if anyone has questions, you're welcome to contact me. I can give you more detail. These numbers are subject to final audit, and that'll be coming about probably the fall. So right now, that's my report.
Thank you. Does any member of council have a question for Mr. Wissman? Sure.
I just want to thank City Administrator Chantillo, Taylor, in regards to the treasurer's report. A number of months ago, actually, your meeting, I had asked for the interest rate for the various different to be added to the treasurer's report. And there was on the thank them for acquiescing. This is important for public trust and transparency, so people can see where their money is going. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the treasurer's report subject to audit? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? This report is approved. Okay, next is the report from the city administrator.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry that I'm wearing my sunglasses. I just from my regular glasses, so. Regarding state projects, the Delta Ferry Cutoff project is continuing to progress. They are finishing up their signals and are continuing to work with Norfolk Southern. I don't have their final notice that they're going to move forward with Norfolk Southern, but I am advised that they are close to finalization. And then regarding the Dobbinsville Denver Pier, at the last meeting announced that they have finally received their state wetlands permit and they were beginning to finalize their bid package and publicly bid the project. I hope to have an update from them by the next meeting. Regarding grants in the city, I mentioned at the last meeting that we applied for congressionally directed spending, and those requests for projects for the dikes and for the Delaware River Trail project were both supported by Senator Webb Rochester. Following that meeting, we received additional notice that Senator Coons is also supporting the project to extend and elevate the dikes, so this is very exciting. We won't have final word for a while on whether or not these projects are supported, but the support right now is very meaningful and helpful, and we hope that we can see these projects move forward. In February, we applied for a DHS and DENREC PFAS awareness and outreach grant in the amount of approximately $742,000. That was supported by Council Resolution 2026-13, and is focused on programming and tools to provide residents with the knowledge and tools to avoid PFAS and make informed decisions regarding PFAS. Unfortunately, we were advised last month that we did not receive funding for this project, as there were many other options. On Wednesday, May 20th and Thursday, May 21st, the city hosted beautification events throughout the city parks to prepare for Delaware 250 and Newcastle 375, thanks to a Keep Delaware Beautiful grant. We planted gardens in all of the city parks, including Penn Valley, Buttonwood, Van Dyke, Susie, Bull Hill, and Dobbinsville. And I want to thank the mayor and council and all staff for the help with this project. Over the past few weeks, we have been working to apply for additional homeland security grants, FEMA grants, and which also include BRIC and flood mitigation grants. And I'll have those final grant applications submitted by the time we get to the next meeting. We'll provide further updates at that point. City project updates regarding the Second Street paving extension that we discussed at the last meeting. I'd like to confirm that we did follow up with the building official and the HAC architect to ask about the Second Street parking area expansion, and the project did undergo a tier 1 HAC review. Because the paving was in line with existing paving, this project did not rise to the need to be a tier 2 review before the full HAC, but it was reviewed in full by the building official and HAC architect and was otherwise complied with and a current position. The city's new the summer city management fellow has begun working for us yesterday and will continue to assist us throughout the summer. She's doing a great job so far, and we look forward to the knowledge and experience that she's bringing to us. APS is continuing their ADA curb repairs and installations throughout the city, and the following items are still outstanding: 4th and Chestnut Street ramp installation, painting of the crosswalks, and finalization of the remaining as-bills. And Cirillo's work for roadway improvements in communal with the mill and overlay of School Street, Cherry Street, and Boundary Street, along with replacing of any striping that was removed and adjusting inlet 20 top to 7th and Delaware. The playground installation was previously announced that will be moved to be late summer and early fall, and we'll have more details as we get further into the summer. Regarding the dog park, we mentioned at the last budget special meeting on June 1st that we did receive 2 fence quotes, and I wanted to share that information here at the regular meeting. One came in at $109,000 and one came in at $89,000. And we applied for an ORPT grant pre-application and are awaiting to see if we'll be invited to apply. And then we also applied for AARP grants for the project. So we will continue to seek grant opportunities to help fund that project. Upon the reminder that street sweeping will continue throughout the summer and the 3rd week of each month, please review the city website to remember when to do your goals. As mentioned at the last meeting, the trustees of the Newcastle Common have accepted our grant request to partner with the city to subsidize the rain barrels that the flood committee was looking to make available to residents. That information is available on our website and our Facebook, and residents can purchase their rain barrels on the rainbarrel.ca website at a subsidized rate, with city pickup available next Wednesday, June 17th. Please be sure to get purchases in. A reminder that we are selling official Separation Day t-shirts and hats, city tote bags and pins in the city office to help everyone prepare for Separation Day. So please stop by if you'd like to get one. We'll also be selling them during Separation Day, which is coming up this Friday and Saturday. On Friday, June 12th, from 6 to 8:30, we'll be at the wharf to listen to live music and enjoy wonderful food from various food trucks. And on Saturday, June 13th, the festivities will kick off at noon with our parade down Delaware Street, followed by the festival in Battery Park beginning at 1 p.m. and featuring live musical performances, the artisan and vintage market, our distinctively Delaware tent, food trucks, children's rides, and more. And then it is followed by our Treasured Fireworks Show at 9:30 p.m. And residents and visitors to Separation Day are reminded that only clear bags are allowed, and additional satellite parking will be available at Carrie Downey Elementary School and William Penn High School, where shuttle buses will be available all throughout the day from 11 until 30 minutes following the conclusion of the fireworks show. We look forward to celebrating this monumental event with everyone. And that is the conclusion of my report.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Tantillo from council?
I just have one.
Yes.
The clear bag situation, how are we communicating that out to people?
It is on the Separation Day website, it's on our website, it's on the Facebook. It will be there will be messaging at the parking lots before people get on the shuttle buses to arrive.
I don't know if you do a special one saying, hey, this is new, to get the word out.
And I think you said parking was at the William Penn High School
And carry down.
and carried down.
Just one question on the building report.
Yes.
I see that we issued a permit for our own property at 889 River Road, and I was just kind of curious what that was for.
The fishing pier,
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
the state of Delaware gets a free permit for the pier,
Thank you.
but they have to have.
I knew there wasn't a structure on it, so I was kind of curious. Makes sense, thank you.
Anything else?
I just had a quick question, with rain barrels, do you have any update of how many were purchased?
Last, I think only 6 people have purchased so far. That was, I think, the numbers from last week. I haven't seen an update this week. We're hoping that more people take advantage of the great price reduction.
I did identify a couple grant opportunities.
Yes,
In regards to the dog park potentially, so we'd love to connect with you and Councilperson Zell
perfect.
at the appropriate time.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, anything else? Well, thank you very much. Chief McCabe?
Evening. I just want to start by a couple of apologies from last month. First, we talked about a crash in Dawsonville. Results have come back and found that the driver was close to 3 times the legal limit. So, question as the cause of that crash. We also, and I don't know if I shared this last month, but we weren't able to verify this, but using some GPS coordinates, we're estimating the speed at around 26 miles an hour. Also this month, a couple of highlights that went out. Our police department, along with the Goodwill Fire Department, responded to several swatting incidents at the Amazon.com. You may have seen a large police presence on a few different occasions. Just to remind you, swatting is when folks call in horrendous events on 911 and are all hoaxes that draw a significant response. So we're working with all of our partners locally and federally to see if we can identify the origin of these calls and obviously take the appropriate action. Also this month, Patrol and our CIU were busy with several different investigations. One, CIU conducted a pretty lengthy investigation involving internal theft of our industrial parks, where we identified a suspect who had stolen more than $20,000 worth of property. Patrol and now CIU were investigating a robbery that occurred Saturday night around 9 o'clock. Suspect was seen entered the store disguised, implied a weapon, and stole property, fled towards the Washington Park area. So we have been out on foot over the last few days, talking to residents and trying to identify any challenges that we might be able to get a hold of, so we can try to get some more amplifying information. Patrol and CIU both work together on an event that took place, I think, May 10th, in the afternoon. About 6 or so juveniles entered the garrison. They started in the community room, did a little bit of damage in there, but ultimately were trespassing, and then entered the smoke shop at the ground level of the garrison, did a burglary there, and stole some property out of there. So our folks did a great job identifying all 6, and they're working on how to proceed forward. The ages of some of these suspects are at that point, whether or not they're eligible to be prosecuted. So they're doing a good job, at least identifying folks in some way, shape, or form, making those also led us to good conversations with the new management there, Garrison. Captain Dempsey's been in constant contact with them, talking about different ways to fix quality of life issues that are happening in there. So that's a good start. I want to talk briefly about the right to control that we mentioned over the last few meetings. In recent weeks, especially coming from that community meeting that we had, some of the folks around Boundary and Zurich, our officers have stepped up those patrols in that area. They have, as you can see in the stats, the numbers have gone up quite a bit. I'm getting some feedback specifically related to that directed patrol, and there are a significant amount of stop sign violations that have been written, with parking violations down there. So it illustrates basically that the community concerns were accurate, and our presence will have some impact on that. I am working on a public safety announcement that I'm going to put out. One of the disturbing trend that we found during these car stops were folks not recognizing that the police car with its lights on, the car in front of it, police activity. And I have still shots from body worn cameras and NPRs, residents walking in between the two cars or coming up to the officer during the stop. So we're going to put the messaging out, more people that the danger. We enjoy the interaction with our. To follow up on the separation day conversation, we posted a road closure map this afternoon. So it identifies what roads are going to be closed, what roads will have no parking on them. The map today is specifically identifying the parade route. So our intention basically is to have some traffic control officers on scene pretty early. We'll start to restrict the flow of traffic as we start to flush cars that may be parked within the parade route, and then have a hard closure 30 or so minutes before the parade starts. So we're messaging folks on our platform, just reminding residents to make plans in advance so that they're not stuck in traffic. Must be closed, obviously stay closed. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions from council for the chief?
I have two. I think a month or two ago, there was a resident who came to our meeting asking about Harmony Street intersection and second, maybe third. I don't remember. Second. And I know you said you're gonna look into it. Like, can you share more what was evaluated, or maybe was that public works? I'm not sure. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I remember the conversation. So one of them has a stop sign, one doesn't, right? So we did some research. We don't have any crash data there. Now that doesn't, we can't track near misses or what the resident was describing. So, that was really the pleasure of maybe taking a look at it as to whether or not they need to have traffic.
And you're saying for one street there is a stop sign, but not from the other direction?
One side there is, one side there is.
I think we also asked Public Works, I think we asked the city administrator for Public Works to look at that intersection.
Yes, and, all right, I shut that up. Our engineer is also looking at that for traffic.
The only reason I bring that up again is because in addition to that incident, that was, I would rather talk about near misses in this, example, because it involved little kids. And also my own son was involved in near miss as well in the city. So just, two near misses is to me more than, too many. So just, close to heart to, but I would still talk about near misses, but it is frightening as a parent, so just curious. My other thing is around Dobbsville incident. This is just ideas I mentioned them in the past, but I just wanted to see if I could flag for you. Feel free to respond or just take it, and respond later. If we can look into, and I've seen two different neighborhoods. Obviously, I haven't taken pictures because I've noticed it as I'm driving. The flashing speed limits signs that kind of have smiling faces if you're going speed limit, or sad face if you're going above. So kind of, it isn't really enforcing the speed, but at least, flashes do, kind of like the one in Washington, coming down Washington Road. I know there's already slowed down strategy, so I can't say anything about that because that comes right after this, little wiggle, area that's kind of designed for that. But the other thing I was thinking about is looking into elevated sidewalk barriers, like I've seen in like every second, like little, I don't know, if everybody's following me, but like there are little elevated, things on the sidewalk, that would prevent some of these, things potentially from happening. So that's, I can look terminology and send a link to it, but, those are just ideas that came to mind. Thanks.
So I just want to give kudos to the officers and the enforcement that was being done on one of our past festival days, since people parked on Market Street and basically just clogged it up and were parking where they weren't supposed to be. I mean, you could not get a fire truck and an ambulance or any other vehicle, not even barely a bicycle, and they were being ticketed. But it is something that maybe next month I would like to see discussed, is closing one side of Market Street. Because that always happens. And having no parking on one side of Market Street continually, because it just blocks everything up and you can't get anything down there. And we have a video photo of a car actually driving up on the sidewalk and going around the trees to get to the open parking on the other side of the ones that were blocking the way.
Did you call us?
Yeah.
No, we talked about that. Market Street should, for these events, decent couple of times. It really brings me to a point I should have brought up. That you probably see the footprint bar, battery park being set up. A lot of this stuff, parking stuff is done by public works that are out there. Now setting this up and doing a great job. MSC's been helpful. It's been, it's a good team out here, but things like that, we work with both.
Thank you, Chief. Council communication, Mr. Maverick.
Thank you, Council President. Good evening to everyone. I'd like to acknowledge the life of a gentleman who lived in the city who recently died, who served on HAC, named Kevin Wade. Also would like to highlight a gentleman who's not from this town, but he is looked at as a native son. He moved from the South. He went to Cary Down. He went to William Penn High School, and he went into the Delaware Army National Guard. We look at him as someone who's a gentle soul and very good with the books. But he served in the Army National Guard with two local legends, Mr. Irv Thatcher and Ted Megason. In his heyday, he was a gunman on a helicopter. And I'm talking about Jim Wisman. Mr. Wisman, thank you for your service to the country. But I had the pleasure of attending an interpretive sign unveiling in Lewis, Delaware for the Johnny Walker Beach. This was the culmination of years of community work by leaders to formally recognize what was the colored beach in the days of segregation. The keynote speaker was Senator Lisa Blunt Rochester. Last month, I enjoyed a trip to Dover with the League of Local Governments and was proud to be joined by Mayor Leary, Councilperson Norman Zubaka, and City Administrator Tantillo. Last month, I talked about some environmental justice issues. I just wanted to provide some updates, and this is going to be an ongoing research project for me, as this is most critical for our residents and community. So the industries in closest proximity to Dobbinsville and the industry in closest proximity to Buttonwood both have some form of community relations board. I've spoken with representatives from the company to the south, and I'm working to make contacts with organizations near the Buttonwood community. Spoken with Denver air quality representatives, and they're willing to come and share information with our community. And they've been invited to the Health and Wellness Fair, which is scheduled for Saturday, September the 19th. Additionally, I've been able to do some other research and was able to find out that the state has identified a community environmental project fund. And essentially, when industries do things that render them necessary or needed to provide monetary compensation for their infractions, 40% of what they're charged or fined goes into this community environmental project fund. And Community Environmental Project Fund is an offshoot of DENREC that has an environmental justice department. And the eligible projects include pollution mitigation, environmental enhancements, and recreational opportunities. So this is something that I'm going to be looking forward to bringing to our local community here. Their grant funding opportunity will commence probably in the next 30 to 60 days, but we'll have a short window. And this is definitely something that the communities in our south and north can take advantage of and should take advantage of in regards to Dobbinsville and Buttonwood. This Sunday will be St. Anthony's annual procession. It is truly a cultural and spiritual immersion where all are welcomed. If you haven't attended, you will literally walk the path that was walked for over 100 years. You will enjoy music, water ice, and homemade wine. Activities begin at St. Peter's Parish at 12 noon. Ms. Contillo, we've heard some ideas regarding future revenue or offsets by this body and some from the university students. We know that year-over-year increases will continue. If you could please inquire with the City Finance Committee and specifically the business professionals that make up their group in regards to their thoughts. For example, what are they seeing in the marketplace or when they travel? And what are their thoughts, for example, on the fee schedule being reevaluated? I recall hearing and looking at old minutes that the city's fee schedule was last updated prior to COVID. So thank you for that. And then also, as we look to implement our capital improvement plan going forward, I think we need to look at 7th Street specifically. It's a small two-way street. It gets a lot of cut-through traffic and there's literally no sidewalk on 7th Street. And as our community grows, as people continue to cut through, trying to get down to Route 9, we need to make sure that people, bikers, pedestrians are safe. Thank you for the time, Council President.
Thank you. For the to respond regarding the fee schedule, we are working with our city planner and his staff to look at our existing fees and evaluate how to potentially, increase or decrease some of them to take a look at how to improve that.
Thank you. Mr. Zabak.
First of all, say Happy Father's Day in advance to all the fathers, existing fathers, new fathers, with their little ones, those expecting and those trying. As a joke, I've seen a comedy sketch where a person says Mother's Day is like 1 or 2, first or second, after Christmas. And then Father's Day is like 17th of the holidays in the world. So that proceeds to list all the different, holidays. But anyways, nonetheless, Happy Father's Day. I hope you guys get some good quality time with family and friends. World Cup starts on Thursday. I hope people loving soccer and, just learning about different cultures are tuning in, not just for the game, but also to learn a little more about other people's cultures. In Wilmington, there's Ivory Coast national team residing. They have a display of their, attire, some of the artifacts that they brought with them. So I think it's a great opportunity to, explore and see, stuff that we may not be able to otherwise, but also go to Philly and other places to kind of learn where those other teams are and kind of what we can, learn from that, not from besides the sports aspect of the competition. I do enjoy watching videos of national team players dancing and, just celebrating just being qualified for a World Cup. So that's always been a big joy. I wanted to congratulate all the kids, moving from one grade to the other, but especially wanted to congratulate kids graduating high school here in William Penn, but across the state as well, and colleges across our state. So I hope, wish you all the best in whatever you choose in your endeavors, whether it's continuing education, work, gap year, whatever that may be. Enjoy, being done with school or continuing doing school. So education is invaluable. And lastly, I'm excited for Separation Day and Sunday festivities. I want to thank volunteers and city staff for it. I think it's police, public works. It's incredible the amount of work people put to make these events happen and have our city be, such a welcoming place to others that share part of our culture with other folks. And sorry, I did say a last thing, but there's one more thing I just did not put it. I did not know. I thought it was a subject. I really want to thank Benita and Courtney for putting together budget, organizing the budget workshops, and presenting us with, several options on various topics that we were, facing, so we can kind of see the impact across. I do want to commend all that work that you guys put towards it. I know it's a lot of not only last minute changes, but also just a lot of changes that we as a council asked for to make our city better. I wanted to thank council for, very great conversations we have had over those meetings and some of the forward thinking that we have done with some legislation throughout the year, not just for this budget, but also putting money in those buckets as well to reflect those priorities and be able to, see that impact. So thank you guys.
Hello, everyone. Everyone knows June is Pride Month. So on June 1st, we actually had a Pride Market. I want to thank Jalissa, I think it is. She was able to create a Pride Market, and we had like over 90 vendors come out. It's a great day, great weather. So thank her for doing that. Also, we have a Pride Tea Dance on Sunday, June 14th, from 5 to 8 p.m. Rodney Craig and Zollies is putting that on, and that will be at Shaw Alley. So come on out and participate. Just a couple of things. So the Old Newcastle Litter Crew had an event on May 31st. We had 11 volunteers. We collected 15 bags of trash and a bunch of debris. We cleaned Delaware Street from Basin Road to Ferry Cutoff, and then we continued on Ferry Cutoff to Chestnut Street. Again, I'd like to thank everybody that came out. It was a successful event, and it looked so much better when we were done. Our next event is going to be on June 28th. I am not set on the meeting place, but the goal is to clean Wilmington Road from Moores Lane to the city line. Saturday market's been going successful, thanks to Fee and John Reeves and Nancy Adamson. But this week there will be no Saturday market due to Separation Day activities. Just want to let everybody know that. The Bull Hill Boatyard does have chances that they're raffling off for a bushel of crabs if anyone is interested. You can contact any one of the members of the boatyard. They should have tickets, and I do as well. And then looking forward to Separation Day. I will be assisting in the beer tent on Friday night, so stop by and see me. Thank you. Thank you.
I don't really have anything to add beyond what others have already said, but Mr. Mattaway, you mentioned Johnny Walker Beach. I read about that also because I grew up in Lewis, and so I'm unfortunately in my lifetime that was quote the colored beach, and we didn't go there, and they didn't come to the other part of the beach, which was really stupid and worse. But at any rate, thanks for bringing that to our attention. Mayor.
Similar to the council president, I don't have much to add because everybody's covered it already. I was out at the Pride Market. It was a really good time. They had 93 out of their planned 95 vendors show up. And it was really awesome. Definitely looking forward to Separation Day. I did find an outfit, and I understand the rest of you are not wearing colonial outfits, just me. So we look forward to Saturday, and it may be very hot, so for those of you coming out, be sure you hydrate and wear sun protection and carry an umbrella. They help keep the sun off of you. Seriously. Thank you.
What grade did we have?
There you are, very good.
I was up and moving already for this show on the road.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. For the month of May, the Google Fire Company responded to 212 EMS incidents, 114 fire rescue incidents, for a total of 326 calls for service. Again, that's just documented calls for service. It doesn't count public service activities and things like that that are going on a day-to-day basis. One major incident, Tower East was special call in the city of Wilmington for a fire at the historic Mother African Indian Church on Franklin Street. We were there to assist the city for a handful of hours before returning back to Newcastle. We do want to thank the city leadership and the community who supported the Mother's Day flowers sale. Obviously, upcoming Councilman Days touched on this already, but Friday night, the Separation Day kickoff party is guest bartenders, local fire company in Bigwoodale. So please come out and support your local first responders from that aspect. From an operational standpoint, we've talked in here before, and I think we even had a meeting on the evening of one of the major shipboard fires in the Delaware River of recent. Deputy Chief Bako is working with Newcastle County OEM and Delaware Management Agency to on a series of planning items and developing policy framework for incidents of those matters. Looking to the future, it's not if, it's when, especially with the expansion of the port that was just recently approved. So Goodwill is intimately involved in those items. In addition, the United States Coast Guard is reviving their Delaware Marine Firefighting Task Force. And both Chief Bako and I are pushing for a representative from Goodwill to serve on that task force. So we'll be well represented. It's more than just watching the ships go by down the river. And on a final and more personal note, I do want to thank all the community members, city staff, city leadership who came out last Saturday to my promotional ceremony. It was very humbling. Thank you to Chief Kate, Mayor O'Leary, and Council President Sounder for your very kind words. Great to see you all there. As I said that day, I'm more excited, more proud, and more humble than most people ever know. So I look forward to this great opportunity to these great relationships. Thank you. Anybody for the fire department?
Just congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have Scott Blomquist from our Municipal Services, and he is introducing our guest speaker from DMEC, which will tell you what that means.
Good evening. Those that don't know me, I'm Scott Blomquist. I'm the General Manager of the Municipal Services Commission. Today I have our contact. It's from DMEC. DMEC does our power purchase, amongst many other things. He is the Director of Government Affairs and Community Relations. Without further ado, turn it over to Heather.
Thank you, Scott, and thank you so much, Council, Mayor, Antonina, for having us here. Want to thank Councilman Mataway especially for inviting us. So DMEC is the Delaware Municipal Electric Corporation. We work as an extension of and a partner with the Municipal Services Commission. Scott Blomquist actually sits on our board of directors and is highly involved in the work that we do on the wholesale side. So if you want to move to the next slide. This is a lovely overview of who DMEC is. We have existed for a little over 46 years, and we were created by the General Assembly to support municipalities, the cities and towns throughout Delaware that have and support community-owned electric utilities. You can see on that map the 9 cities and towns that are throughout Delaware that go fully north to south. And the different assets that we have for generation in solar and natural gas and wind energy, and the work that we do to support those members. They serve roughly 145,000 people when you combine all of them, But the whole point is aggregated savings. So we were created by the General Assembly to bring those savings so that the Municipal Services Commission does not need to go into the energy market and buy only for Newcastle customers. But we bring it all together. I tell people it's like the Sam's Club effect. The more you buy, the more you save. And that's how it works in the energy market. So the bigger the power purchase, the more megawatt hours that we're purchasing, the bigger savings that we can bring to our members and obviously back to the customers that they're servicing. So we bring those economies of scale savings, shared resources. So a big resource that we provide is local training and education. We have a line worker apprentice training program that the Municipal Services Commission has participated and supported. We also have in-house training that their staff can attend, municipal staff, so the city staff, you as council people can also attend these trainings to learn more about the energy industry. We also bring other professional skills in, such as conflict management, bridging the generation gap, community finance, financial assessment workshops, and all of those are open to you and the city as well as the Municipal Services Commission. And then we just have these 4 core priorities that we really look into that our strategic plan is built off of. And the top priority is power supply, but we're also looking at our organizational culture, our sustainability, legislative and regulatory affairs. So you can see as we go through these next couple of slides, sort of how that looks for you guys. So if you go to the next slide, just a little bit of education on the different utility business models, because we tell people not to compare apples and oranges. So when your constituents are reaching out to you, having questions maybe about their Municipal Services Commission bill that they get, or they have questions about something they saw on Facebook relating to energy or Delmarva Power or what the legislature is doing, it is important to understand there are some critical differences between the different utility business models. DMEC and our members fall under that public power, that green column. And we represent about 28% of the state's energy load. When I started with DMEC about 9 years ago, we were only about 15%. So you guys have been growing in your services, the types of businesses you're bringing in, growth in communities and housing developments. But the critical piece of this is not only are we not-for-profit, just like you are, as we are an extension of local governments, but the money that is going into DMEC and to our member utilities is going throughout the community. These wonderful events that you guys have been talking about tonight, and the work that the crew from the Municipal Services Commission does, and that the community is able to provide in these robust festivals and outreach is supported by your local utility services. And so that goes above and beyond only being an electric utility, but you're also serving many other utility services as they service other, more than just electric. And that local decision-making, the work that you're doing here tonight and throughout the year, that really makes a difference and allows you to be more nimble and more flexible to meeting your community needs. And so we advocate on that behalf. You go to the next slide. So we do that through a number of different ways, but we feel as though public power leads by example. And 3 kind of categories you can patch that into is a commitment to both reliable and sustainable power. I tell people all the time that if you think of energy like a 4-legged stool, we're looking at reliability, sustainability, affordability, and resiliency. And so when you're combining all of those, as you know, as a coastal community, that resiliency piece is important. We also want to make sure that the lights stay on all year round, regardless of when storms come through. But we also want to think about that next generation and making sure that we're leaving this world a better place than when we came in it. And then at the end of the day, while we have all of these great intentions, and we work with the legislature and other decision makers to try to move forward on the right path, that we do it at an affordable pace, and that we're considering what the average person and the average business is having to also deal with when other prices are also going up. So we invest in both assets of energy generation, as you see listed here, both renewable and on-demand low emissions generation resources. You saw that map previously of some that's located in Delaware, and we have partnerships across the region. But then we also have different contracts that we balance. So again, not putting all of our eggs in one basket and making sure that we're diversifying our portfolio of energy, like you might diversify a retirement portfolio, to make sure that that risk is managed for our members. We are accountable to our environment, and the councilman was talking about environmental justice. And we're thinking about how are we making sure that it is both equitable and accessible, and at the same time, still maintaining that it is reliable. So we pair up our renewable energy with our low to no emissions resources, and we're looking at 93% of our power supply that the Municipal Services Commission is providing you locally here is low to no emissions. And then lastly, we have a passion for giving back, just like you guys do with your community here locally. We are looking at giving back throughout the state, finding ways that we can give back to local organizations, pairing up with charitable donations and sponsorships like the Newcastle Historical Society, and we've supported other Riverwalk festivals. And I've talked before about Separation Day, so we'll get in the mix next year because we missed this one. But looking at ways that we can support your community and the activities that you're doing here is really near and dear to us to be able to give back. Move forward to the next slide. Again, having a seat at the table. Someone told me early on in my government relations tenure that if you do not have a seat at the table, you are likely on the menu. So we are trying our very best to make sure that your local decision-making authority is not what's on the menu at Legislative Hall or down in Congress, over in Congress in DC. So we continue to work on a federal and state level and reporting to our board of directors monthly on the work that we are doing. You can see a number of those different task forces and groups that we are a part of, just to make sure that you are top of mind, that the great work that you are doing through community partnerships, through a community-owned utility, through the assets that you are bringing and the work that you are doing in partnership with the other municipalities throughout our state. It matters, and it matters that you keep those decisions local. Go to the next slide. Mutual aid, we say, I think I already heard it once tonight, but again, it's a matter of if, and it's not a matter of if, but a matter of when storms are going to come. We have been very fortunate as a state to kind of have some of those storms that have come through, like Hurricane Sandy back in, I think, 2012, that was really gunning for us. And then all of a sudden it did that last minute shift, and it ended up destroying several of the coastal areas of New Jersey and New York. But those types of storms that are coming, we see more tornadoes, we see more ice storms, flooding that we've talked about before. All of that matters when it comes to that reliable service that we were talking about, and making sure we have strong partnerships to support Newcastle. But then also you can see in some of these pictures where the Municipal Services Commission has actually gone and supported other communities in need. They have been a part of several of our mutual aid initiatives down to Florida over the years, sending crews as recent as 2024 to Hurricane Milton to go help Orlando, Florida, restore power after a hurricane. You can actually see Scott actually went out on that crew with the guys. And so we support both throughout the nation, throughout our region. And then here you are strengthened by the partnerships of DMEX membership, being local to you, so that when those storms come, you're not having to battle for help. You already have help nearby. And so we really look to expand that program, and through our training program with our line workers, we already build those partnerships together so that the first time they're meeting each other isn't in a crisis. Move to the next slide. Again, I mentioned our training and events. This is a little bit more of a robust list of the types of trainings that we bring in that are open for you to attend. We also have on-demand webinars on a variety of topics. Obviously, many of them are going to look at energy and electricity, but again, I said there are several other professional development trainings that we offer that are open to you as decision makers for your community, and we certainly wanted to extend that over to you as well. The next slide. So community relations, how does all this relate to the great work that you're doing and the partnerships that you have with the residents of Newcastle? And two of those different programs are going to be our Power Savers program, which is demand response. So when that energy usage goes up and up and up, and we hit above 90-degree days or very, very cold winter days, you start to hit those peaks where energy costs a lot because supply and demand, just like we all learned back in economics, when that supply stays the same but the demand goes up, the cost goes up. So everything we can do to try to bring down usage during certain peak hours throughout the summer, it matters. It matters now, and it matters going into the future for what energy prices look like. So we try to come up with fun graphics like the pro tip you see there with savings are on the line, and we're encouraging people to hang their laundry to dry during those hours. We try to bring relevant tips that you can share on Facebook or on your newsletters or on your websites, as well as the city can do so as well. You'll see there we also have a billboard that we do every year to celebrate Public Power Week, and we feature a local line worker from the MSC to be able to put a face to the utility that's providing that local service and kind of getting a glimpse behind that power that's behind the energy. And then the other program we have, you see with the Save Money and Energy, those special rates on energy efficient appliances. This is a great program. It's called Efficiency Smart. Anyone can access it that's one of your customers, whether there's no income level, there's no customer class, whether it's a residential customer, your small business, all the way up to your large industrial customers here can benefit from that. And there are a lot of different rebates that you can share with your local residents. So when they upgrade to a new energy efficient refrigerator or you posted, there are 44 state energy pieces of legislation just this year. 5 years ago, I tracked 3. So it is a very robust discussion that we are having down at Dover at Legislative Hall. So if you'd like to learn more about it, that's occurring. We have our legislative luncheon at Legislative Hall that we invite you to attend if you need to reach out to any state legislators at that time. And then we invite you all to our annual dinner where we also highlight the great work that our members are doing and have some awards and recognition at that time. And then if you go forward, there we go. So that is the last one. Okay, I thought we were wrapping up. So I'll open it up to any questions, but I appreciate your time and your eagerness to learn more about us.
Thank you for coming. Any questions from council?
Thank you for coming, both of you, and presenting this. This was a refresher for me. I was at a lake bowl the other day, so but nonetheless, great to hear. This is, amazing the amount of work you guys are doing. I have a couple of questions, so both of you feel free to answer or just table it and email later. I've come across an article about bladeless, silent, or more silent wind turbines. I've written a name here, Vortex wind generators. I think they've been deployed in France. Is that something you guys have been discussing or at least following through? I saw a list of all the different bodies that you guys attend. So is that something that I know Chief always says, difference between deploying something, is it working? Is it hurting? The kind of cost benefit analysis. So I don't know, is there a cost benefit analysis replacing current turbines or at least adding new ones that would be, not just environmentally friendly, but reduce the noise pollution, but also help the with current situation. So I'm going to stop there with my first question. Either one of you can answer.
Yes, so DMEC does participate in the Governor's Offshore Wind Task Force. They have not met in a little while, but we also sponsor through the University of Delaware a number of graduate and doctoral level wind energy residents and fellows. So they actually are studying both the wind turbine that's down in Lewis, and they are going all the way up to Rhode Island, noticing that they have already deployed offshore wind, and doing research on what is happening over in Europe and tracking that alongside of those cost benefit analysis, that four-legged stool that I talked about before, where we're trying to make sure we have both the reliability, that sustainability piece, but we also want to make sure it's affordable. The great piece about the fact that we guys have a local community utility allows that nimbleness to say, hey, this is something that's intriguing now. Let's wait and see to see how it develops, to see how it becomes more commercially viable. Let's do that research, and then let's bring it in when it is cost effective. So we continue to balance that. We meet the state's renewable portfolio standards. So we continue to look at those pieces of the pie, while also knowing that we need to bring in more generation here in the city.
Thank you, appreciate it. I figured you guys are doing that, but just wanted to inquire while you guys are here, since we have data experts right here. I wanted to, yeah, I'm gonna keep the other two questions, for the email, but, I wanted to just mention, as you were talking about peak hours, a comment that funny comment that I grew up in a community in Europe where we were like, at least my mom and my grandma were so strict about not turning on any appliance between peak hours. I think it was 6:30 or 7 to 3 p.m. You could not turn on laundry, you could not turn water heater. So just, I was appreciating that in a sense of like how community can actually impact peak hours. I don't even think about it in America about it, like everything is running all the time, obviously. I mean, not in the same sense, but just wanted to mention that kind of growing up was very religious, like when you turn on devices, and I think Sunday was always, you can do the entire day. But anyways, I wanted to share that anecdote.
Gold star for her. She's our favorite customer.
Oh my God. Well, she's not your customer.
She's our customer.
She's abroad, but I'm sure the high country Bosnia is doing the same thing. It's also like he cost double more, so there was a financial incentive to it, but yeah.
I just have one question. Have you looked into the impact analysis and risk of data centers and how that has impacted you?
Yes. So they continue to be an ongoing conversation, both at the state energy legislative level. That is probably the major reason for at least half of the bills that we've seen come through is because of data centers and tracking that. We are a part of not just statewide task forces, but we are also sitting on both regional and national committees that are looking into the impacts of data centers in areas like Loudoun County in Virginia, as well as in Pennsylvania, as they're looking to develop those tariffs on a federal level, what it looks like if other states around us are bringing those in versus if Delaware does, because ultimately we're all connected by one giant electric grid. And so looking at those infrastructure impacts and looking at what special tariffs might need to get applied in order to make sure that if any time a data center were to come into our members' territories, it does not risk the rest of the customers that already exist.
I just want to add a question there. If it's stupid, forgive me. As a country, are we net exporters or net importers? I'm just curious. I thought we were importers, but I don't know.
From a country perspective, I am not sure. I know as a state, we are definitely net importers significantly. And so that is why we're seeing a lot of the energy costs going up throughout the state. We're noticing that impact because from a regional perspective, they are noticing that as the usage is going up, we're electrifying everything. We're building and developing a lot just in the region. And so you really need to incentivize energy generators to be built closer to where the energy is being used. And Delaware has a lot of importing of energy right now. You can see we bring in quite a bit, but it is not going to be nearly enough to meet the load for our members or the state. And so even from just a peninsula perspective, we desperately need to bring in more energy generation here.
Thank you. I knew Delaware's situation, but I was curious as I think about data centers myself and see them, across the country. It's kind of like rather simple, like obviously environmental stuff. It's horrible, like it's horror stories about, water, pollution and everything, but just from energy, like every story you hear is the usage is double that a whole state is using, not just in Delaware, every other place that you hear. And then I'm just thinking, well, just visibility wise, I don't even see how you produce, like infrastructure wise, or you can't build this so fast that, it almost just sounds like comedy sketch where like, we're not ready for this. I don't even know how we're pushing for this. But anyways, I was just curious as a country, like, are we even able to sustain that just out of curiosity? But yeah, thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a couple of things, please.
Sure.
Heather, I want to thank you for coming. The power of this seat flows from the people. And the power that lights up this city flows from MSC, the DMAC. And that is real. I know this year has been a year unlike any other. And in many ways, you kind of remind me of Magneto, the X-Men, the superhero. So you're different in that you're a woman, and you're small but mighty, but you use your energy for so much positivity. And you're always willing to come to the table. I remember a few years ago when I was listening to one of the presentations, the monthly ones, I said, community relations, you know, would you come here? And you'd be like, yeah, I would. But not only do you come here, you support here. You support Scott and his team. You support the linemen. You support our community through the grassroots organizations and initiatives that make our city unique. So thank you for that. I do have a couple of questions for you if you could speak on, just for, you know, public domain. And that is solar. So if you could speak to the great things you all are doing in Middletown, and then if you could also speak to the footprint that you all have outside the state, talk about Ohio.
Yes, yes. So we are super excited, and we will get out the word here in the very near future. We are doing a ribbon cutting at the end of July, which will be here before we know it, on a floating solar project that's going to be located in the town of Middletown. And so instead of utilizing open space or prime economic development land, we worked with the town of Middletown, which is a DMEC member, to utilize their wastewater treatment ponds and to float solar on top of the wastewater treatment pond. So it does a number of things. It blocks the sun from getting into the wastewater treatment pond, and it mitigates an algae growth problem that they were having. It brings more renewable energy into our state. It's going to be 3 megawatts worth. That's going to total around 5,000 to 6,000 solar panels floating out there on one of their wastewater treatment ponds. And they have a couple other ponds. So this is sort of a pilot project to see how it might grow. And we actually got a national grant through the American Public Power Association to be able to do this as a case study to see if it can't be replicated throughout the nation. And this is likely to be one of the top 10 largest floating solar arrays on the East Coast. So that should be completed by the end of December. By the end of July, we should be about 50% through the project. So we are super excited about that. That's coming into our state and adding again to that generation we talked about that is so needed. But we also do have to balance. We see natural gas generation and other on-demand generation as a bridge to being able to support that sustainable energy that we're talking about with solar and wind. And so through that, we have partnerships, like I said, regionally and in the area here that bring in some of that on demand so that on call, no matter the hour of the day, we can provide power. And that's through a partnership with American Municipal Power out in Columbus, Ohio. They have the Fremont Energy Center, which is roughly 700 megawatts. So just a little bit more than the 3 megawatts we were talking about. And we are a majority owner in there of about 115 megawatts of natural gas power through there. That brings that steady flow, that steady rate, so that we can provide a stable rate to the MSC and to your customers. And then we also have located here in Delaware a really great unit that's called the Beasley Power Station located in Smyrna. And so that is 100 megawatts, and it is utilized to shave that peak again. And so I wish your mom was here to be able to like stand next to me and she could be on our commercials. And so to just
She'll be here in August.
perfect. To reiterate the impacts of when we are able to inject energy into the transmission grid during those peak hours, the huge benefit that that brings to lowering your rate, the wholesale rate that we provide the MSC, and really providing those savings to your customers.
Thank you. And then wouldn't be the city of Newcastle, give a little history, point of history. So the Beasley plant, I'm sure you might know, is named after Mr. Beasley, who was a Newcastle city resident, maybe a trustee.
Yeah.
So I said to say commissioner. So you can't talk about DMAC without talking about the city of Newcastle. And Mr. Hoffman, if there's some type of, royalty or something the city can get on that, that would be really cool.
Very low electric rates.
It's in the rate. But we actually,
They're the lowest in the paper.
yes, the MSC is, that's a huge bragging point. But in our member visit, we were able, Commissioner John Wick actually took us by where Mr. Beasley, where his house used to be. And we were actually, which was really, really cool to hear about that and then be able to see where he lived.
Anyone else have any, from council have any questions? Well, again, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
There's lots of good information here. And next we have a report from Marianne Cable for the board of elections.
Evening all. This is the report for the 2025 duties and activities of the City of Newcastle's Board of Elections. And I prepared this, and I am Mary Ann Cavan, the chairperson of the City Board of Elections. In the City of Newcastle is the board that's vested in conducting municipal elections. And the present Board of Elections members are myself as chair, Mary Ann Cavan, Adrian Indolini, Rodney Pratt, Connie Reese, and Carolyn Travers. The 2025 Board of Election meetings were held on January 15th, 2025, February 4th, 2025, March 6th, 2025, and April 9th, 2025. An additional public meeting was held on Election Day, April 12th, for the city's absentee ballot clerk to conduct the counting of the absentee ballots. Election needs are handled by the board. These election needs are handled by the board, and they include but are not limited to enlisted poll workers and scheduling training sessions with the county's Board of Elections and warehouse for poll workers and for the Board of Election members. Ordering the voting booths from the county and providing the insurance policy information, the coverage of the voting booths for the county. Scheduling the delivery times and recruiting poll or board members to assist in the delivery and the configuration of the poll as needed. Engaging in a contract with the county for the services they provide for the city's election, training sessions, and their assistance on the day of the election from 7 a.m., 1 hour before the polls open, to when all the unofficial votes are tallied and the machines close. The board also orders the voting lists and works with the absentee ballot clerk to update the lists as needed before the election, and then to divide the list to be ready for 3 registration tables on election day. The board is also responsible for having the proper supplies for the poll, posting signage in and outside the poll on election day, and marking distances from the poll entry for candidates and campaigns to adhere to the distance. The board handles hospitality needs for the election day workers, which includes ordering, picking up, and/or delivering beverages and foods to sustain all from the 7 a.m. opening hour through to the closing of the poll. Posters, public notices, and communications. The Board of Election works with the city administration to provide solicitation of candidates notice, the candidates package, and election notices to the public to meet the posting needs and timeframes. Generally, it is the Board of Elections that also delivers the posters to the library, the city banks, the businesses, and the public newsrooms. The Board of Elections delivers the voting booth tally sheets with the vote totals, associated paperwork, and the absentee ballots to the canvass of the votes 2 days following the closing of the poll to have them accepted as the official results by City Council. It is important to note that the poll workers actually conduct the voting process on the day of the election by registering the voters, opening, operating, and closing the voting booths, and addressing the voters' needs. The Board of Election members oversee the preparations and make certain that the city, county, and state directives for conducting municipal elections are followed. The Delaware Board of Elections has someone available that's meet and question on election day from the opening of the poll to the closing of the poll. As board member and a member of the board of the Senior Center, I open the center to begin these preparations on election day at 7 a.m. All poll workers must be in attendance, preparation of the poll. They must take the required oath, and they must remain at the poll until it closes after the unofficial vote tallies. City Council is welcome to email me or call me with any additional needs or questions concerning the Board of Elections. That's a brief overview. I didn't feel it was necessary to share my punch list of all the things that happened in the process from when we first put the solicitation notice out until we canvassed the votes. I can answer questions if anyone has any now.
Thank you and your board for all their work. I know election day is a long, hard day for everyone. Let's do advanced preparations. Any questions from council for Ms. Kevin?
I said a quick comment and a question. I want to join and say thank you for the entire board for so long years. I've officially volunteered their time, so it's very important work. I'm always impressed by, as you described here briefly, professionalism of what goes into preparation and execution of that day. So I just wanted to say that again publicly if I haven't said it before. My question is regarding, I cannot remember our city requirements for registering to vote. Any of the conversation at a federal level, would that be impacting any of our ability for voting for people to bring different documents, or would that not be something that will impact eligibility of the voters in city of
The
Newcastle?
needs right now to register to vote in our election are clear, they're in the code, and that's the truth, the state is about. Any other changes that are proposed or being discussed at any level beyond that, I don't have any knowledge of how it would impact in the future. The board doesn't create or make anything in what the instructions are, what the policies are and the procedures of the city. We simply enact what is done. A number of things have changed in the past couple of years with how elections are held and how candidates might, file and periods and that. But that isn't anything that the board controls. And I would have no way of knowing what is being foreseen by those who are far more experienced and have some sort of authority with regard to how these things would change in the future.
Thank you.
Just a couple things. Is there any additional support or recommended changes that you think city council needs to act on?
Well, I reserve really going through a litany of thoughts about them this evening. I'd be happy to follow up with council in an email. They're concerning some concerns that the board makes on that rooms added, some things that might be done to improve, the system or the procedure. But I will say, that it's smooth because we have an incredible, wonderful bank of workers in this town to call on, our poll workers. They are the ones that really run the lecture in the day, and they are wonderful. They're very, very dedicated. Some of them have been doing it for years, and they're seasoned, and they also get great training. We go to the county and warehouse. I don't know if any people here have been to the county election warehouse. So it's really impressive. It's an amazing place, but they conduct, and it's mandatory. No one works a poll in the city unless they attend the mandatory training session, and it's very good. And the county office is always available, if there are questions about anything. And they have a separate training session that they provide for the poll workers. So there are two. And for the board members. And so there are two different training sessions that and I think I always have it. I'm pretty sure most of the board members attend both because it's very helpful.
I just want to say thank you and thank you for them.
You're very welcome. It's a privilege, it's an honor. I consider voting a real privilege, and it's been very rewarding to play a part in our election. And I'm happy to do it in the city of Newcastle. And I'm also happy to tell you that this is a real. People who commented on it today, like 5 times, $20.
For promoting the merch. Ms. Kagan, I just.
People did stop in the shops today and said, wow, where did you get that?
Ms. Kagan, I want to thank you for your service and your team service. I also want to thank Councilperson Day for his question. We're living in times in which people do not feel like elections are free and fair. It's important to have these conversations. It's important to have these types of annual reports in the public domain, being willing to change. We're willing to hear feedback and respond accordingly. So thank you.
Just add one more thing, one quick comment. I have to give credit really to the poll workers again, because I have been told so many times by voters in the city how pleased they are to come to our poll and how well they are treated by the poll workers. They're giving great respect. If there's questions, they're treated diplomatically, kindly. No one comes in there. We get people to come in and they want to vote, and they're Newcastle and they know the candidate, but they, they're in 10 acres, they're, the surrounding community, and that's a difficult place, when you come stand in line and no one said you're being turned away. But there's the training that's given to the poll workers. encompasses a lot. It's not just the simple, techniques needed to operate the booths themselves and whatever. There's a lot of like social and aspects to it, how you interact with people, and we have a lot of really great people pleasers on our whole list. That's really great. And if you know any of them, make a point of thanking each one. That's all my comments.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is ordinance 564. We had the first reading last month. Mr. Day, I'm going to ask you to give the background on this one.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President. So this ordinance makes some revisions to the existing vacant building registration process. I did work with the city administration to make sure that this was something that worked for them as well as worked for the council. And I'll go through it briefly. I think we made it a little bit easier for people to register. We deleted the requirement that it be notarized. So a landlord can submit their list just on paper. They don't need it notarized. They can submit it to the city. And then one of the things that I've noticed is that it didn't seem to be a deterrent for people to keep vacant buildings in the city longer than, there's no real deterrent for them to do something productive with the building. So after 3 years, we've increased the prices per year for the vacant building. So at 3 years but less than 5 years, it's $3,000 per year. And then for each property that's vacant for at least 5 years but not less than 10 years, it's $5,000 per year. And then at least 10 years is $5,000 per year plus an additional $1,000 for every additional year over 9. And then there was a couple other items in here that I wanted to point out. So, the problem with the vacant buildings is that they're a drain on the community. And really, if you want to stay on top of vacant buildings, you've got to inspect them regularly. So this ordinance also allows the city to charge an inspection fee for the code officer responding to perform regular checks on vacant buildings. This stops, it kind of relieves the neighbors of having to call it in all the time, whether it's high grass or somebody's dumping trash on it or it's not secured. So all those type of things. And then a couple more things though, if a building is vacant for 3 consecutive years, we will now require that a design professional submit an inspection report to the building. And this is more so for the health, safety, and welfare of our public safety personnel. Whether a house is deteriorated, you have no idea if the floor collapsed inside, if the stairway still exists. So all these kind of things are built in to protect our public safety professionals. And the last thing that I'll speak on here is in the last section, it requires any vacant structure with structural or interior hazards, such as missing stairways, to be marked with a placard by the code official at the front of the property. And again, that's just a notice for our fire, police, EMS workers, that if you do go in there, know that there are significant structural issues with the property. And then there's some dimensions and stuff with the placards and reflective stripes on the placards. But that is a standard practice or a standard placard in the industry. So it's not something that we're just making up. It's standard use now. Like I said, I did work with the city administration. I do think this is going to work for the city, and hopefully what this will do is the long-term vacants that we're seeing. I could probably name 5 or 6 right off the top of my head. A property's been vacant between 7 to 10 to 15 years, some of them. Hopefully this will be some incentive for the property owner to do something with the property. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Does this put us in line with the state and/or county rules?
It puts us closer in line with the county rules. I think the county's prices or costs per year, I should say, are even higher than this. But it puts us in line with the placarding requirements, with the inspection fee, And with the, required inspection after being vacant for 3 years.
Any other questions for Mr. Day?
A comment, two questions. Well, two comments, I guess. I thank you for bringing this ordinance to us. You know, sometimes you don't even know that something is needed in place. So I do applaud that because I think it's, you know, I share this sentiment of, you know, if something's vacant, you know, after a certain amount of time, we should have some steps in place. I also wanted to comment, I do love the fact that you have scratched on notarized for reasons. I think you're explaining, you know, like this is helpful for owners who were not in town, but can, you know, still provide a statement or some sort of form of needed for compliance. My question is next for section 2 under C1. So inspections, section 1, the underlying stuff about inspection fee being $100. And Mike, feel free to jump in here if you know, this is not something we should talk. I was just wondering, as we talk about, you know, fee revision periodically, if we have done this with different ordinance in the past where we have just put a part of code that talks about a fee instead of putting the amount. So I'm just curious if we want to do that here and scratch 100, but just say, charge an inspection fee according to fee schedule in code, whatever line. So that's first question I have for the council and Mike too. That's just for me, that's my personal comment. If this fee does change in the future, we change it in one place, we don't have to update the ordinance as well later. So that's just kind of up there, just aesthetics more than. Any thoughts? Mike?
Legally, you can do it either way. And so this is fine as drafted. Also, if you had all your fees in a fee schedule, that's fine as draft, if you went that way as well. Either one is enforceable. It's the will of council.
Unless there's objection, unless we want to keep it at a same price, so it's something that's appropriate to this ordinance, I would move in to amend that so that, if we're revisiting these fees and say, okay, the new price more appropriate for with inflation and whatnot should be 120, 130, whatever it is, then we don't have to change it to a place. That would just be my thing. And my second question is for section 2. So right, the paragraph underneath 2 is what does happen after 90 days if after 3 years, and then it says within 90 days after that, you need to submit a report by design professional. What happens? Is there a part that maybe I'm missing it? Is there a part here that says we don't submit it by 90 days?
I don't think it would be any different than any other code violation.
Okay.
They would receive a code violation and we would go through the code violation
Okay.
process.
But it doesn't have to be stated here as a.
No.
Yeah.
Well, and this is the report from the design professional, so it would seem to me that would be written into the contract we would sign with whoever we hired to do this. This isn't something the owner has to do. The design professional must submit a report to the code official documenting. So in other words, we realized that property X had been vacant for more than 3 years. We would contract with a design professional to inspect the premises.
Madam President, the intent is for the property owner to contract with the design.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood that.
That's okay. Yeah, the intent is for the property owner to contract with the design professional, and that keeps us out of getting search warrants and going into the property and not really knowing what's there and costs. But yes, it's up to the property owner to submit that.
Oh, sorry.
And it would be a violation of the code if they don't, and we would, process it that way.
I'm okay with that. Yeah, I assume it would be done as well.
And I'm not opposed to putting this in the appendix, as long as we have a publicly shared appendix currently.
We do.
Okay.
We do currently have it. The reason we did not put it in that manner today was because we knew that we were working on an updated fee schedule, but we were working on this first.
But I think that's a perfect example where that would, be,
Sure.
Very dynamic change that you don't have to see it, 6 months later.
So do we want to change that when we actually adopt a new fee schedule? Is that what
That's what I was gonna say. That, so the recommend, since the city is working on a fee schedule, that's actually a perfect excuse and perfect reason to go through the code and pick up all those pieces. So when the city completes that review, having the updated fee schedule, and then an ordinance that corrects all of the language throughout the code, doing it at that time.
You guys can keep that somewhere in your tabs. That's the
It's on my mind.
amazing. Take a motion.
Any other discussion on this ordinance? Is there a motion to approve ordinance 564?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 560.
Second,
Second?
we need a roll call vote for an ordinance.
Councilperson Suzanne Souter,
Yes,
Councilperson Joseph Day,
Yes.
Councilperson Andrew Zelt,
Yes.
Councilperson Nerman Zubaka,
Yes.
Councilperson Brian Madaway.
Yes.
okay, thank you for bringing this to our attention, Mr. Day. And then the next item is ordinance 566, which is our fiscal year 2027 budget. I just want to say that obviously, when we did this as the first reading, we had greatly inflated numbers because we didn't know how it was going to shake down once we worked out all the details, but so the property tax rates are significantly lower than what was in the ordinance during the first reading. Before we get into the details, I just want to say that these new tax rates were set with the intention of restoring the ratio of residential to commercial property tax payments as a percent of total tax receipts, which changed significantly after last year's reassessment. Prior to the reassessment, the total property taxes received by the city came 40% from residential properties and 60% from commercial properties. After the reassessment, because residential properties generally increased in value significantly more than commercial properties did, that ratio almost flipped to 58% from residential and 42% from commercial. So these tax rates put forth in this ordinance were selected not only obviously to generate the revenue needed to cover the expenses of the city, but also to restore that 40% for residents and 60% for commercial. So instead of rereading the whole thing, I'm just going to read the whereas clauses that have the adjusted numbers. So whereas the fiscal year 2027 general fund budget is balanced at $8,743,973 and contains proposed wage adjustments for city employees. And whereas the fiscal year 2027 grant budget is balanced at $2,272,182.67. And then in section 1, therefore, effective July 1st, 2026, the property tax rate shall be at 0.299 and a bunch more digits after that of assessed value for residential properties. This reflects a 16% decrease in taxes for residential properties. And the rate for commercial properties is 0.4921 and a bunch more digits for $100 of assessed value, which reflects a 38% rate increase from last year's rate for commercial properties. But bear in mind that last year's rates had to, by state law, be the same for both residential and commercial, but because of the changes in assessed values, non-commercial properties actually saw a decrease in their tax, and if it did increase, it didn't increase nearly as much as residential properties. So that's the basis for the tax rate set forth in this. And so the total city budget is adopted in accordance with this ordinance if it passes at $11,017,155.67. We've had 2 or 3 special meetings where council went through the budget line by line, cut things, adjusted other things, and this is the bottom line after all of that. And those were all public meetings. Is there any further discussion of
I
this
just
one?
wanted to advise council,
There was only one additional change that we made from the last presented budget numbers on June first, and that was the addition of the contribution for the Bull Hill Boat Club application, and that was an addition of $2,000. So just an addition of $2,000 to the budget difference from the June first presentation.
Oh, okay, thank you. So is there any further discussion from council of the budget ordinance? Sure.
President, I mentioned this at the last city council budget meeting. I'd like to read into the record the email dated March 24, 2026. This was sent to 3 Newcastle County Council people. Thank you for your service to Delaware and Newcastle County. This email has been written as a follow-up to recent brief conversations we've had during the town hall, etc. I'm deeply concerned about the stagnant and declining support the Newcastle Library has received over the years from Newcastle County. Please know this is being written first as a parent who knows the values of literacy, then as a library board member appointed in 2025, and finally as a representative of the citizens of Newcastle City, past, present, and future, as a councilman. Governor Meyer has declared a state of emergency regarding education in this state, to which I support. Our local Newcastle Library is an independently run library outside of the Newcastle County system and serves not only members of the city, Newcastle, but the surrounding communities and neighborhoods in Newcastle County. Our library receives state and county grants, but must fundraise independently for a large portion of its operational and capital improvement needs. We need to be leveled up to the threshold that is commensurate and reflective of the great use of this facility. In essence, the staff and board for many years have made lemonade out of lemons. The support level received by the county is unsustainable and will choke out this great community resource if not addressed. Attached herein is an addendum that highlights the monies received since fiscal year 2006 through fiscal year 2026. The high mark was in 2007, where the library received $404,542. Since 2007, that watermark has never matched, and the funding level and expenses have increased annually. In fact, the Consumer Price Index shows that the time value of money, $404,542 from 2007 into 2025 is $627,885.06. I understand you are just 3 individuals, but I would not be doing my duty if I did not make you aware. Thank you for recognizing the seriousness of this matter and what it means to the city of Newcastle. So I needed to read that because in an effort for transparency, I made it known that I'm on the library board. And I don't want anyone thinking that I'm voting for something for an organization that I have the ability to control their finances. That's the case with the library. But I will not lay down my voice. And it's important for this city, and this council, this administration to understand the financial straits that the library is in. So I move to ask for a request where I need to abstain for the grant funding issued to the library. Thank you.
Right, I was going to get to that because we have other council members who serve on boards of other organizations that are receiving contributions from the council as well. So we'll be voting on all of them separately. I do want to say the city's contribution to our library is about 10% of that. But I think this year it doubled. Is that right? Or nearly doubled? I was trying to find it in here.
while you're looking at that, just again, as a point of matter of fact, the county's funding for this year has been cut to the library about $30,000.
Right. Oh, I know they've cut significantly, and I think that's why the library asked for more, and they usually do, and I think we gave them what they asked for.
Yes, this year they requested 40,000, and that was included in the budget. And last year, they requested 10,000.
Oh, okay, so this is a fourfold increase over what the city gave the library. Now, it's, because the state's cutting the library budget too, so that's not gonna fill the whole gap, but we're doing what we can to help support the library. I'm on the board of the Newcastle Library Friends, which is a separate organization, so there's no funding that the city gives to the Friends. But yeah, we're all aware that the libraries are being cut and share your concerns about that. Well, while we're on that subject, the other two organizations that we need to pull out and vote on separately are Arasaka Garden Club and Newcastle Community Partnership and Bull Hill Boat Club, because we have council members on their boards. So how do we do this? Well, first of all, before we're ready to vote, is there any further discussion of this ordinance?
Well, I wanted to commend council for talking about the differential rates and, you know, being proactive last year, even going over for state, you know, itself all out for this to even happen in every municipality and county in the state. So, just, you know, sometimes you guys look at us here like, you know, what are they talking about? But we are trying our best to, you know, even if it doesn't look that way at the time, to, you know, figure out what is the best impact for everybody involved. And it's not just protecting residents, also making sure, you know, our businesses are, you know, seeing the same impact that, you know, so like, how do we kind of minimize it across the board? So it is a tough decision to make always at these meetings, but I wanted to commend council for, you know, switching that. I know for the note taking, I think council president mentioned 58%. That was this year, I think it was 52, but that's just for, if we could check that.
Well, I have
I was just looking at
in the back of your packet on the charts that Ms. Antillo gave us.
Yeah, it was 52 for residential, 48 for commercial.
Yeah, some of this presentation was saying 52. Again, I don't remember which slide. but-
Okay, my mistake.
No, no,
Yeah, so
I
52
think it
and
was
48.
I figured.
52 and 48,
Yeah.
but still, it nearly
Oh, yeah.
flipped from
Yeah,
what it used to be of 40 and 60.
In anticipation, next month's minutes, I figured I'll send it out. I was, you know, having to do it later. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was something I mentioned in the budget workshop. At the last meeting was the unreserved carry forward amount. You know, some of the things the council has adopted last year was budget stabilization and capital improvement fund. So what's going to happen once, you know, the budget's approved and audit occurs, and, you know, you will see that 1.2 million distributed, you know, 75% capital improvement fund and 25% budget stabilization fund, which in fact, as was the design, like that, those amounts will be enough to increase budget stabilization fund to the point where it's 6 or more months of, you know, reserves on hand, so that, you know, it can serve as that, you know, budget stabilization fund that it's supposed to be, and then put, you know, significant addition to the capital improvement funds so that we can strategically invest in our city capital equipment. So that's just something I wanted to highlight as, you know, something I'm proud of this council for doing.
All right, thank you. And thank you for catching my mistake on those figures. It's important to try to be accurate. So, is there any further discussion, or are we ready to vote? And if so, Mr. Hoffman, how do we proceed to pull out these ones that people need to abstain on?
For those, I would just handle the contribution specifically. So for example, be a motion to approve a contribution to the library of X, second, vote on that, go through those where folks need to abstain. And then based on the results of that vote, that will tee up your final budget.
Okay, I'm afraid I don't have the list of contributions.
I can call that up for you.
Okay, so
I
if
do
you,
have one other quick thing before we get to contributions. Thank you. I again want to thank everyone for their efforts. getting to this point. It is challenging to think forward on a budget when we don't have conversations around the capital improvement plan. And I know that everyone's been busy and inundated, but I don't want the council or the city body to lose sight of the capital improvement plan. And so I'm looking forward to seeing that, to having conversation around that, to be engaged. And as I said earlier, to have 7th Street sidewalks added. Thank you.
Okay, now when we read this list, do we need to do a roll call vote on each item in the contributions budget, or can we do voice votes?
You do voice vote on that.
Then we do a roll call vote on the ordinance as a whole. Okay, so Ms. Tantillo, would you read off one by one, and then I'll call for a voice vote, for each one.
Sure, so the request from Arasaka was for 2,500.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, all in favor?
I'll abstain.
And one abstention.
So you just call out the abstention.
Okay, any nays? Okay,
The contribution request from the Bow Fire Company, which is now called out separately in the budget, is for 55,000.
Make a motion to approve.
all in favor? Aye.
The request from the Newcastle Library is 40,000.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And one abstention. Any nays? Okay,
The request from the Newcastle Community Partnership is 3,000.
Make a motion to approve.
all in favor? Aye.
Abstain.
One abstention. Any nays? Okay,
The request from the Newcastle Historical Society is 20,000.
all in favor, but is there a
I'll make a
motion?
motion to approve. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any abstentions or nays? Okay,
The request from the Newcastle Senior Center is 6,000.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
and all in favor? Aye. Any abstentions or nays? Okay,
The Buttonwood School request is for 48,976, and that was the entire request.
I'll make a motion to approve. Sorry. Second.
all in favor? Aye. Any abstentions or nays? Okay,
The request from the Belonca Airfield Museum was for $3,500.
I'll make a motion to approve. Second.
all in favor? Any nays or abstentions? Okay, and there's one more, right?
There's a couple more.
Oh.
The request from Encore was for 5,000.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions or nays? Okay,
The request from the Bull Hill Boatyard was for 2,000.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
all in favor? Any nays or
Abstain.
and one abstention, any nays?
And lastly, the request from the Community Collaboration of Delaware was for 4,000.
Motion to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions or nays? Okay. Now, is there a motion to approve ordinance 566?
Second.
Okay, and now we need a roll call vote, please, Ms. Weir.
Council President Suzanne Souter,
Yes?
Councilperson Joseph Day,
Yes.
Councilperson Andrew Zoll,
Yes.
Councilperson Nerman Zubaka,
Yes.
Councilperson Brian Mataway.
Yes.
Okay, the ordinance is adopted with the contributions as detailed. Thank you. Okay, we have two more items on the agenda. One is the first reading of an ordinance. And as is usual with first readings, there will be no discussion tonight. Because this deals with a zoning matter, it must next go to the Planning Commission for their review, and they have a public hearing. And then it will come back to the City Council for us to have a public hearing, a second reading, discussion, and possible vote. So is there a motion to read ordinance 567?
So moved. Second.
Okay. Ordinance Ordinance 567, an ordinance to extend the deadline to obtain approvals under ordinance number 536 concerning the rezoning of portions of property located at 130 Lupin's Drive and 150 Lupin's Drive, Newcastle, Delaware. Tax parcels 21-023.00-01 and 21-022.00-002, totaling 168.76 acres from the IOP zoning classification, industrial office park, to the R3 zoning classification, multifamily residential, as to 149.08 acres, and to the GC zoning classification, general commercial, as to 13.96 acres, and further concerning an amendment to the city's 2020 comprehensive plan in a manner consistent therewith. Whereas these tax parcels, collectively the property, comprise 168.76 acres more or less of undeveloped land, and whereas Parkway Gravel Inc., the owner of the property, petitioned the city council to alter the property zoning classification from IOP to residential 3, R3 multifamily residential, as to 149.08 acres, and to general commercial as to 13.96 acres, with the remainder of the property, 5.72 acres, retaining its current IOP, that's industrial office park zoning. And whereas the owner pursued this rezoning, intending to re-subdivide the property into 2 parcels of land for the purpose of developing the R3 parcel zoned parcel as 451 unit mixed use project, including 46 single family homes, 26 twin units, 107 townhomes, and 272 apartment units. The GC zoned parcel is proposed to be developed as a 12,000 square feet of retail space with second floor apartment units, a community clubhouse, and a public restaurant. And whereas the council approved this rezoning of the property on May 9th, 2023, with the adoption of Ordinance 536. And whereas Ordinance 536 inter alia contained a requirement that, quote, within 18 months of the date hereof, the owner of the property shall successfully complete the site plan and subdivision approval process as set forth in chapters 213 and 230 of the city code, detailing the proposed subdivision and site plan, and must obtain all required special exceptions and variances for the development contemplated on the concept plan attached hereto as Exhibit A. The final recorded site plan shall generally conform to the concept plan set forth in Exhibit A. If the owner of the property does not obtain all approvals within 18 months of the date hereof, and of the property, and does not record a subdivision and site plan that generally conforms with the concept plan attached hereto as Exhibit A, this ordinance shall expire and shall automatically be null and void, end quote. And whereas owner asserts that it has been unable to obtain these required approvals within the 18 months of the May 9th, 2023 approval of Ordinance 236, due to owners entering into a voluntary cleanup program with the Department of Natural Resources and Environmental Control, DENREC, under which it was required to obtain DENREC's approval for managing contaminated soils and to remediate approximately 5 truckloads of contaminated soil, thereby requiring an extension to the 18-month approval period under Ordinance 536. And whereas owner obtained a special exception and variance approval on April 30th, 2024, that was expressly tied to the above described rezoning, which approval therefore also expires, were the above described rezoning to expire under the terms of Ordinance number 536, but which approval remains active so long as Ordinance number 536 does not expire. Now therefore be it ordained by the Council of the City of Newcastle as follows. Section 1, Ordinance number 536, Section 3 is amended to replace 18 months therein with 54 months. The effect of this change is to extend the deadline by which the owner must obtain site plan and subdivision approval for the project from November 9th, 2024 to November 9th, 2027. If the owner does not obtain all approvals by November 9th, 2027, and record a subdivision and site plan that generally conforms with the concept plan attached to ordinance 536 as Exhibit A, then the rezoning shall expire and shall automatically be null and void as required under ordinance number 536. Section 2, all other provisions of ordinance number 536 remain in full force and effect as approved by council on May 9th, 2023. Section 3, if any section, subdivision, clause, or phrase of this ordinance is for any reason held to be unconstitutional or invalid, such decision shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions of this ordinance. Section 4, in the event any existing ordinances or parts of ordinances are in conflict herewith, the provisions of this ordinance shall control. Section 5, ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith are hereby repealed, provided that any such repeal shall not abate a right of action already accrued under any repealed ordinance. Section 6, notwithstanding the date of its approval, this ordinance extending the deadline under ordinance number 536 shall become effective retroactive to November 8th, 2024. And the final item on tonight's agenda is resolution number 2026-32. A resolution recognizing America 250, Delaware 250, Newcastle 375, and Separation Day, and affirming the city of Newcastle's historic significance. Whereas in 1651, Peter Stuyvesant established Fort Casimir on the Delaware River to secure Dutch control of river commerce and navigation, and the settlement that would become the city of Newcastle traces its origins to that founding. And whereas the year 2026 marks the 375th anniversary of the founding of the city of Newcastle. Whereas the year 2026 marks the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence and the founding of the United States of America, known nationally as America 250. And whereas the state of Delaware will commemorate its own 250th anniversary through Delaware 250, recognizing the state's central role in the founding of the nation and its distinction as the first state to ratify the United States Constitution. And whereas on June 15, 1776, the representatives of the three lower counties meeting in Newcastle formally declared their separation from both the British Crown and the colony of Pennsylvania, thereby establishing an independent Delaware government and setting the stage for Delaware's participation in the birth of a new nation. And whereas this historic action is commemorated annually as Separation Day and remains one of the most significant events in Delaware history. And whereas the city of Newcastle served as Delaware's colonial and early state capital and was the site where this historic act of independence was declared, securing its enduring place in the founding narrative of both Delaware and the United States. And whereas the city of Newcastle's historic district preserves nationally significant landmarks, including the courthouse, the Green, and Amsler House, which bore witness to the civic, political, and social history of the colonial and revolutionary eras. And whereas the city continues to honor and preserve this legacy through the annual observance of Separation Day, historic preservation efforts, educational programs, and civic engagement that connect present and future generations to the principles of liberty, representative government, and the rule of law. And whereas the America 250 and Delaware 250 and Newcastle 375 commemorations provide a meaningful opportunity to reflect upon the city's contributions to our nation's founding, celebrate our shared heritage, and to inspire renewed commitment to civic responsibility and historical stewardship. Now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the City of Newcastle that the city hereby recognizes and supports the commemorations of America 250, Delaware 250, and the 375th anniversary of the city of Newcastle. And be it further resolved that the city affirms the importance of Separation Day as a defining moment in Delaware's and America's journey toward independence. And be it further resolved that the city of Newcastle proudly acknowledges its unique and enduring place in American history and recommits itself to the preservation, education, and celebration of its historic resources and heritage for the benefit of its residents, visitors, and future generations. Is there a motion to approve resolution 2026-32?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the resolution is adopted. Thank you all.
Before we adjourn, I just have one reminder that there will be no yard waste collection this week, and that citywide recycling is tomorrow. This has been shared on our Facebook and our website, and we are deep in Separation Day preparations and making the city beautiful and safe for everyone. So we apologize for the inconvenience, but just wanted to remind you.
Thank you. All right, is there a motion to adjourn? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Need adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. No.